I love that quote. Yes, I was progressive before it was cool.
In a Democratic presidential field that boasts more than 24 candidates, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is running at the back of the heat. He jumped in the race months later than many of the candidates and is trying to make sure he's seen in the progressive lane that's already full of Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and countless other candidates. We sat down with him the Monday after the two mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Ohio killed more than 30 people, and covered everything from gun control, the presidential race, and race relations in America. How do we fix mass shooting problem in America? Because it feels like a uniquely American issue.
This is the time to change our gun laws. Congress needs to come back right now. We've seen a lot, but there's something that happened in these last days that's even worse than what we've seen previously.
And what are those specific gun legislation recommendations that you would have as president?
Look, I think it is banning the assault weapons, it's background checks, it's making sure there's a waiting period for a purchase of a weapon. None of that violates the Second Amendment, but all of those things would help us to stop these mass shootings.
I want to zero in on the shooting at the El Paso and Walmart. At least 20 people are dead. Is this domestic terrorism?
Of course it's domestic terrorism. I mean, we've had domestic terrorism before. The fact that it's happening more, the fact that we have racially motivated shootings, religiously motivated shootings, this should be scaring people to their core that this country is going astray.
The suspected shooter in El Paso, authorities said that he had written a manifesto. And in that manifesto, he talked about the invasion of Texas by Hispanics. Invasion is a word that President Trump uses often when talking about immigration. Do you think Donald Trump is a racist?
I've thought since his campaign Donald Trump was a racist, and I've said it out loud. In his campaign, I said he was a racist and a proto-fascist. His words have encouraged and supported and energized the white supremacists. You can see it all over the place, and now it's taking a very violent form.
You have this unique perspective of having black children married to a black woman. What kind of conversations have you had with Dante about being a black man in America? And how do you help white America understand what it's like being a black man, woman, child in America?
I think white America needs to understand that. White America needs to feel like what it would be like if the shoe were on the other foot. I've tried to talk openly about the reality of policing and understanding that white Americans need to understand why parents of color need to have a different kind of conversation with their kids. And we need to get to the day where that's no longer needed. But I do think part of it is helping people see through the eyes of their fellow citizen. And racism in America is so pervasive, and it's in every institution, that for an African American, they're confronting it every hour of every day. I think we have to help white America feel that and understand that.
Is it frustrating in the primary that maybe, because when people talk about the progressives in the race, that your name's not mentioned, people think about Bernie, people think about Elizabeth Warren?
No, look, I think I need to get better known, and that's my task. Look, I decided to get into this race, and for a variety of reasons, including some of my governmental responsibilities, I got in later than would be ideal. Democratic voters are still looking for something they haven't found. This race is far from consolidated, and I believe the message that I have fits where the vast majority of Democrats are. I think they're looking for someone who can actually do it and can prove they're for real. I can prove that from what I've done in New York. The whole notion of talking about working people, it needs to be made clear, and that's what I've done in New York for sure. That means people who happen to be Caucasian, that means people of color, it means everyone, and this is actually a great unifying opportunity. That $15 minimum wage, that's going to help people of color, that's going to help white people. Strengthening labor unions, that's going to help people of color, that's going to help white people. Higher taxes on the wealthy so we can actually invest in our country is going to help everyone. We've got to frame it that way. And I think what has happened is that the Democratic Party has forgotten how to talk about working people because of fear of upsetting donors, because of somehow thinking that there's, if you talk about working people, you're fomenting class struggle. I don't worry about that one bit. I think the class struggle is already out there. I think working people are being screwed in this country consistently. I've been an underdog in every election, literally every election. And the same pattern has proceeded each time. First, people get to know you a little, then more, then people spread the word, and it starts to blossom into something. I got to make that happen.